Good evening and welcome to the latest installment of the Ross Rundown. I'm your host, Matt Harrelson, alongside with me, Jevin McKenzie and Bran Fall. And guys, we're doing it all week with our shows. This is our 1 year anniversary.
I did not get you a gift, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And I know you've only been here for a little bit of that. Of course, Jeremy and I have been here for the whole ride. But we appreciate everybody that's tuned in to all of our shows over the last 365 days. We look forward to bringing you more coverage from everything from Richmond Raider sports all the way up to the pros. So, guys, let's jump right into it. Of course, the big news this week, the Super Bowl 53 is coming up on Sunday. Rams versus that other team. What's their names?
I never heard of them.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into it. Let's start the proverbial clock, and let's just jump right into the main thing here. You've got the experience of Belichick, Brady on the Patriots. You've got the youth of not only golf, but their head coach, Sean McVay, Gurley, all those guys. Which one prevails?
I'm going with the Rams.
Okay.
I'm going with the Patriots.
Okay. I'm also going with the Patriots. Now that we've got all that out of the way,
That can happen. It could be a repeat.
Jared Goff, of course, as I just mentioned, a young guy. Do you guys think that obviously the Super Bowl is a huge stage? A lot of media. There's a lot of build up to it with having 2 weeks off beforehand. You think he's ready for that big stage? You think maybe this could come back to bite him and we see some cobwebs, at least maybe in the beginning? What do you think?
Well, that happened a little bit in the NFC Championship game, so I think, anybody that young that says it doesn't affect them is probably not telling the truth. So I think you definitely see some nerves. Now, whether that'll portray itself in the way he plays is another thing, but he'll definitely be feeling the nerves, and I hope he can play through it.
Absolutely. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a scenario where Jared Goff comes in. He's going to be nervous. He's going to be, the big stage going to have, all the hype and everything. He's going to have some moments where he's going to pretty much, I got to do this. I got to keep my mind focused because this is the big game. I leading my troops into the to the big stage. So I think he'll give it all that he has.
I would imagine, even if you're Tom Brady, you'd probably get nervous every Super Bowl, right? Even though he's played in 9 of them.
Yeah.
He's almost played a regular season's worth of Super Bowls.
That's amazing.
It is. But, I got to think, one of the reasons why I'm taking the Patriots, I know that the Rams have all of this young talent, but it just seems like no matter who they're playing, especially in the playoffs, the Patriots figure out some kind of scheme to find your weakness. Yeah. Perhaps that's maybe knocking Jared Goff on his butt 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, Belichick is the master. I don't know what his record is when he's had 2 weeks to prepare for a game, like coming out of bye weeks and stuff, but his preparation is amazing.
Second to none, I think.
It's truly amazing. And 2 weeks is just like, he has lost Super Bowls, so anything's possible. But gosh, he's great at finding your weakness.
Yeah, and even the ones they've lost, they were in it till the end.
That's right. That's right.
So, moving on. I know we've seen a lot of the run game from both of these teams. Sometimes from some guys that we didn't expect. Sonny Michel on the Patriots side, of course, C.J. Anderson on the Rams side. But Todd Gurley, what's going on with him? Because last game he had in the NFC Championship game, he had 4 carries for 10 yards.
Yeah, they said he wasn't hurt. They said it was just performance, and he said I just sucked. McVay is saying he'll be heavily involved in the game plan. That's easy to say, Super Bowl week.
Right.
But let's just see what happens if he has 4 carries for 10 yards in the first quarter on Sunday, and see if they stick to that game plan. Because if he doesn't produce, you got to think. Yeah. You got to think. Give the ball to Anderson.
Yeah, next man up.
Yeah,
that's the
right.
NFL's thing. But talking about CJ, it seems like he stepped up over the last few games. Of course, Todd Gurley was injured in weeks 16 and 17. You think maybe he's got an injury that he's lagging with, or?
I think he's dealing with something that he's playing through it, and even with C.J. Anderson filling in and doing a tremendous job doing what he's doing. But I think it's going to be a scenario where Todd Gurley's going to probably play in this game, and you think you're probably going to get a high production out of him.
You would think so. He's not only one of your best players; he's one of the best players in the league.
Yes.
That's right.
So you would think if he's healthy, they're going to give you a heavy dose of Gurley. So that's one of the things we'll have to wait and see whether they do that or not. But I would imagine. Of course, whatever I think the Patriots are going to do, they'll end up doing the complete opposite. But I would imagine we'll see a lot of the run game from not only the Rams but the Patriots as well. You guys concur?
Yeah, Sonny Michel is the leading rusher in the NFL in the playoffs right now.
I believe it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So like you mentioned, they always every year find this guy we don't know who it is, I mean, most casual fans don't know who it is, and then going into the playoffs, he just explodes. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Belichick turn up somebody else come Sunday that we haven't thought about.
Some other guy, some fourth string running back.
Yeah, like for James White.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah,
He's due.
because James White, you looked at him from when they played against Atlanta a couple years ago. A guy that you never hear from. But man had a Super Bowl record of 14 receptions, which Tom Brady got the MVP, but he made a comment, I shouldn't be Super Bowl MVP. James White should have been, because if it wasn't for him making all these receptions, we wouldn't got where we are.
Well, did he stick behind that and give him the car?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Then. Brady doesn't need it.
Sure don't.
Brady doesn't need it. But, we see that. Speaking of that, we see that all the time. You've got the big names. But then isn't it always those unheralded guys that seem to make the difference in these games?
It is. You got your superstars, but it's got to be somebody else in these games most of the time.
Yeah. And the one that comes to mind to me is Malcolm Butler from just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Of course, that was the Seahawks' mistake doing that. But
That's right.
whatever.
That's right.
And then my last question before we move on, guys. Will this be the last game that we see Gronk in?
No.
I say no. He says he's going to keep playing.
Yes.
Because Brady's going to keep him playing. But, he's certainly not he didn't look as good this year.
Yeah.
And we'll see especially if they win, it'll be interesting to see what a couple months of the offseason will do to his decision making.
Yeah, because, this time last year, after the Super Bowl, rather, he was mulling retirement. And look, Gronk's got other things besides football.
That's
and
right.
I actually read he hasn't spent any of his football money.
Yeah, I heard that. That's amazing.
That is amazing. Kudos for that, first of all.
He lives off endorsements and banks his salary.
Yeah, he's 29, which is not particularly old even for the NFL.
You're in your prime.
Yeah, he should be in your prime. Although he has been injured a lot throughout his career. Yeah. That's why I think perhaps maybe there is a shot that this is his last game, win or lose. Yep. And I think you can just up that percentage if they win.
Yeah.
Now, I said that was my last question, but I lied.
That's okay.
Tom Brady's already said
subject.
He's going to play until he's 150. Yeah. I believe that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, though. Belichick is 66 years old. He's the second oldest coach in the NFL. Is this his last game?
No.
Oh,
no. No.
But when they asked Brady the other day what his chances were, you saw what he did. He said, 0 chance in my last game. I think Belichick will come back.
Yeah.
If Brady comes back.
So who retires first?
I think Belichick will.
Well, I don't know. Brady probably. I think Brady will. Kraft said this week that he would extend Brady's contract if he was interested. It runs up in 2019. He's due $27 million, I think it is this coming year. Mm-hmm. So they're going to try to extend him to reduce that amount.
I was going to say to reduce.
I think Belichick will play through whatever Brady's next contract is, unless there's a serious fall off. I mean, at some point he's 40-something years old. We got to see a fall off.
Got to, right?
And if that ever happens, then Belichick might think twice about it and get out.
Yeah. I just keep wondering, when is that going to happen?
It didn't happen this year.
No, it did not. So. All right, so we've got 2 Patriots and a Rams pick here. Of course, we'll see what Russell's got. We'll get everybody's picks.
That's right. That means Rams fans, be happy. I picked against the Patriots 2 straight weeks in playoffs, and they've won. Now I picked them, and they'll get waxed.
You know what? I'm going to say the exact same thing that I said this time last year. I said I'm going with the Patriots because I know they lost last year, and we were all wrong except for you. But I feel like I don't care if they're all eligible for AARP. I am taking the Patriots because of Brady and Belichick, and until they lose, that's just what I'm going to do.
That's right.
That's like I said, I'm going with the underdog, going with the Rams.
All right. Well, it's got to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Speaking of the NFL, let's finish up here with this as far as the NFL. So, they're getting ready. The NFL is getting ready to hand out all the awards. We talked last week about Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure he's wrapped up the MVP. Of course, especially after that Pro Bowl performance. Of course, we might get to that here in a minute. But another one, everybody loves offense. Let's talk about the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think more than likely it's going to come down to 2 names. Baker Mayfield from Cleveland Browns and Saquon Barkley from the Giants. Number 1 and number 2 in this past year's draft, which a lot of times you don't see number 1 and number 2 do well.
Produce that quickly. No, that's right.
So, straight up, who you got?
I got Saquon Barkley.
All right.
I'm going with Baker Mayfield.
I'm going to take Mayfield because the Browns were a lot better this year, and I think he's the main reason for that. However, I think Saquon Barkley will be the better player later on.
100% agree. I think Barkley will have a better career. Of course, it's hard to say that off 1 year, but I think 1 year difference that Baker Mayfield made in that god-awful franchise was just amazing.
Yeah. And I can say for the Cleveland Browns, they finally put the F and finally found their franchise quarterback.
Well, as it currently sits, it seems that way.
Yep.
And I have to say, I've got to, put my foot in my mouth a little bit because I didn't expect Baker Mayfield to be worth a flip.
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't. Nobody didn't.
I thought he even though he went number 1, I said this is typical Browns pick.
Yep.
They
Browns
messed it up.
dysfunction at his best. That's
Yeah.
what I thought when they drafted him last year.
He's got too much circus outside stuff.
right.
He's not big enough. The Browns organization as a whole can swallow you up.
That's right.
And he pushed through all of that.
That's right.
And so that's who I'm going to go with. But I could see Saquon Barkley, depending on what the Giants do over the next few years, winning an MVP.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I really could.
I mean, he reminds me so much of Emmitt Smith.
Yeah.
Just how much he can mean to a franchise.
Yeah. And he went to the Pro Bowl too.
That's
so.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for the NFL. Of course, we'll come back next week, and by then you'll know who won the Super Bowl, but one of us is going to be right, and one of us will be able to brag about it. Or two of us if the Patriots win. So let's move on to the NBA. And, of course, a big news there is Anthony Davis. Now, this doesn't surprise me at all, but he has told the Pelicans that he wants to be traded. He's not going to re-sign, so they might as well trade him now, right?
Yes.
So, is L.A. a foregone conclusion? Does he end up somewhere else? What do you guys think?
I'm gonna say for Anthony Davis, he wants to win championships and he's in the prime of his career. I think the best case scenario for him right now is the Lakers because you can pair up with LeBron and get something out of him for that season. Pretty much can match up with the Golden State Warriors in the Western Finals and probably can make a trip to the finals in a dynasty for the next couple of years.
All right.
I think you asked, was it a foregone conclusion? I would say I would lean towards yes, because a lot of the other teams that would love to have him are not in position to trade for him right now.
Right.
And the Lakers have a ton of assets they could give up. And Kyrie Irving's even rumored this week that he wants to go to L.A. If they pull the trade off, they'd have to give a lot of young talent.
Wait a minute. Kyrie said he wants to
Yes,
go play
yeah.
again with LeBron.
With LeBron.
Yes,
all that.
yes.
Is that not amazing? And
Yeah.
so if they were to piece Irving,
Yeah.
LeBron,
Anthony-
and Davis together,
Woo!
I mean, all of a sudden you've got to catapult them to favorites in the West.
Yeah.
And so,
Along with the Warriors
and
anyway.
now the owner of the Pelicans is stating they're going to do it on their own time. If she holds true to that, we'll see what happens in free agency. But I think eventually she's going to think, okay, do I take what I can get from the Lakers or hold off to 2020 and get nothing? Because they still got him for the rest of this year and next year, so they could play strong and hold him.
Yeah, but as we see in baseball all the time, the time to trade him is now.
That's right.
That always seems to be the answer, because as those days come off of his contract, he's worth less and less towards that trade.
That's right.
And I know the Lakers right now, LeBron's still not back yet,
No.
and there's kind of falling a little bit. I'm not so sure that perhaps things could change in the playoffs, but I'm not so sure if they traded for Anthony Davis today that they could hang with the Warriors right now.
No.
I know. I still think they're a piece away from championship contenders, even with Davis.
Perhaps Kyrie Irving. I didn't know that. That really surprises me after all that hubbubaloo that.
Yeah, I mean that just happened like one day this week. I don't remember what that was.
Yeah, because even with Klay Thompson, after this phrase, he said he wants to sign with the Lakers if the Golden State Warriors don't resign him.
Well, talking about the Warriors, aren't they getting? They have to be getting close to a point where they just can't afford everybody. Right?
At some point you can't afford the luxury tax.
No.
It comes with all this. Klay Thompson, at some point you think is going to be gone.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, I think at some point has got to be gone. I mean, unless they're willing to take massive pay cuts, and I haven't seen a lot of players in the prime of their careers willing to take massive pay cuts to win a few more ball games. I mean, they've already got rings.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to be good chasing rings when they've already got the rings.
Right.
They're going for the money. They're going for the max contracts.
Yeah, because you take it like Brian was saying, you're looking at Klay Thompson going to be gone, Kevin Durant going to be gone, Andre Iguodala is going to be more likely going to be gone. DeMarcus Cousins, he's under a 1-year contract. He probably going to want to go somewhere.
Yeah, he's basically a rental.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? It's going to be Draymond and Seth.
Yeah. You might
Still not a bad team, though.
Not a bad team.
But it brings up another question here, talking about Anthony Davis. And I think the question is, do NBA stars hold too much power when they play in small markets like this? Because we've seen this all the time where they hold a team for ransom, basically, and say, look, trade me or you're going to lose me. And that's what it comes down to. Is that too much power for them to have?
I absolutely think it is.
Yes.
But I don't know how to fix it.
I don't either. I don't know how you fix it.
I don't know there is a fix. And it just, in the current NBA structure, you're always going to have the haves and the have-nots.
Sure.
And
let me ask you this: you're a Spurs fan. I would consider San Antonio, even in the NBA, a small market team. So don't you have to draft someone like a Tim Duncan, that kind of character kind of guy?
Yes.
I'm not talking bad about Anthony Davis per se, but a guy that's willing to put his stake down in a small market and stay there his whole career. And it worked out pretty well for them, didn't it?
Yeah, for Tim Duncan, for our formerly big three with Ginobili Parker and
Yeah, so that worked out pretty well for them.
But that's just that's a once in a generation type. I mean, that's almost like hitting the lottery.
It is.
And the type of guys that you get between Parker, Ginobili, and the chemistry they had. I mean, most teams that have that much talent, they just can't seem to keep them together.
Another team that comes to mind is the one right here in North Carolina. Charlotte, small market team. Kemba, for some reason, wants to stay here, but he could go anywhere if he wanted to.
Jordan has said recently that he has no interest in trading Kemba. He's off the table.
I'm sure he's not.
And he's trying to extend him. The Hornets, I hope Kemba gets rewarded later in his career with a championship or being on a contender.
Yeah.
I would love to see him play through all these bad contracts they got with the Nicholas Batum's of the world, no offense.
And the Gilchrist.
That's right. Love Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. He's tough. He plays good defense, but he just cannot. Yeah. He's not an offensive threat at all.
To compare, obviously you can't compare championships, but to compare the personnel between those big three Spurs teams and the Charlotte Hornets now, you got to give Kemba somebody to play with, don't you? And I know Tony Parker's there, but that ain't the same Tony Parker.
That's Tony
like a 5 years ago.
A Tony Parker in their prime to give him some help.
That's right.
And they just haven't really done that via free agent, trade, draft, whatever.
I mean, you almost wish they'd have a year where they just tanked it and got the Zion Williamson to go with Kemba Walker.
That's what I said.
And because right now they're just good enough to get a mid-range draft pick and continue being mediocre.
And that's been the case for the last half a decade.
Yeah, that's right.
Even with the Bobcats.
Brutal to watch. It's frustrating to watch.
It is. It's very frustrating.
Because I'm a Hornets fan. We're going Friday. We're going a couple Fridays from now.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, hopefully by then they'll be above 500 before they probably drop back down.
Yeah.
Also, I know one thing that is exciting. The All-Star Game is going to be in Charlotte this year.
Yes.
Now, I know it's still a couple weeks, actually a few weeks away now, but we'll get to that. But still, I'm glad to see it's coming back in
me
Charlotte.
too.
And hopefully they'll put on a show. Final thing here on the rundown before we get into our big impacts and love it or hate it. ESPN has come out with their way, way, way too early 2019 college football rankings. You guys can probably guess who's number 1 and who's number 2, and that's how they finished this past year. Clemson 1, Bama 2, Georgia 3, Ohio State 4, Notre Dame 5. Does that sound right?
No.
Let me guess. It's the Irish one, isn't it?
Yes, because Ohio State should be.
I have not read that yet.
Ohio State should be ranked number 3.
God, how many times does Notre Dame have to get killed in the playoffs?
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
But you know what? I got no problem with Clemson, Bama 1, 2.
No. They're the same thing as the Patriots. Until somebody proves otherwise, those are the two daddies.
But after that, I went ahead and wrote down 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. You got Oklahoma 6, Florida 7. That surprised me a little bit. Texas 8, so I guess they're thinking Texas is making their way back. A&M 9, and then LSU 10. So SEC bias is right there for you.
Where is Carolina?
Which one, north or south? I think it was triple digits.
Okay, they'll be back in a couple of years.
But to me, this is
Matt Bryan is the head coach.
I know this is this is a way too early ranking.
Yeah.
Half these teams won't even make it in the top 10 this time next year. But this just seems like the Blue Bloods, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what this is?
That's interesting. Did you happen to pay attention where UCF was?
14. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Wimbush is going there from Notre Dame, so that may make a difference. Of course, what's his name? Mackenzie Milton's not going to be there. He's still nursing that horrific leg injury.
Yeah.
But, I made sure to check and see where the Knights were at, and that's where they were. Only non-Power 5 team in their top 25 for next year, so that doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's do our big impacts of the week. Of course, brought to you by Richmond Community College, whose motto is local college, big impact. Brandon, let's start with you.
All right, I got Najee Stroman. I was at the game last week when he put up 27 against Purnell Sweat, and it was every bit as dominant as it sounds like reading the box score. He was just all over the place on defense. He was shooting from the outside. He threw down a great dunk on a fast break, and just a complete all-around player. And then he followed that up this past week with a win against Pinecrest. He scored 14 in that win.
Yep.
Just impressive all around. Great performance. He's a sophomore too, so 6'5", 6'6".
Oh, really?
Can jump out of the gym.
Got room to grow there.
Yeah, yes, he does.
All right, he's balling. What about you, Jeremy? Who you got?
I got Kansas City quarterback and more likely MVP candidate Patrick Mahomes, who had a wonderful game at the Pro Bowl this past Sunday. He had 7 for 14, 156 yards with a touchdown, and as the AFC routed the NFC 26-7.
Yeah, it was ugly.
And it was just that ugly to watch the 20 plays I watched.
Yeah, I was telling you guys,
gosh.
I watched the pregame stuff and it was pouring down rain, and I went click.
Jason Garrett coached him right out of a Pro Bowl. It was awesome.
My big impact this week, I have got Kendall Cone Schofield. And if you've never heard of her, there's probably a reason why. She's the first woman to compete in the NHL All-Star Skill Competition.
Oh.
Now, she finished 7th, but nonetheless, first woman to do it. I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. So let's move on and finish up the same way we always do with our Love It or Hate It. We got about 6 here, so let's hit them bang, bang, bang. First off, Bill Vinovich, another name you might not recognize, but you will hear in just a second. He refs a college basketball game and gets heckled over that Saints call. Love it or hate it.
I love it.
Love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know what? I love it because it shows you that fans pay attention.
That's right. That's
even
cool.
across different sports.
I love that.
The fact that they were like, oh, that's him.
Giving out free glasses at the game.
I don't know.
Awesome.
You know, that's still a big uproar right now. Is that Saints call?
Yeah, you heard what Sean Payton said this week, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
He said he drowned Netflix and ice cream is how
Yeah,
he
yeah,
drowned
ice
his
cream,
sorrows
yeah.
after the game.
Well, I've actually got a Sean Payton one
Okay,
on here
cool.
for just a minute. Let's head to baseball for just a second. Outfielder A.J. Pollock heading to the Dodgers. Love it or hate it?
Hate it. God, can they get any more talent?
Yeah.
Love it for him. I wish he was going to the Braves.
I say love it.
Well, he got 4 years, $55 million, which not a lot, really.
No, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Well, you know, with Harper and what's his name,
Bryce
Machado not signed yet.
Yeah.
I mean, the contracts are maybe trending down a little bit. I mean, it sounds like the owners are trying to play hardball.
I think they are, and I think that it may get to a point where we may have a work stoppage here in a couple of years when the new CBA runs out.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say love it, I guess. Except for the fact that this probably means they're not going to sign Bryce Harper, which
That's
means
true.
which means he may end up in Philly. That part I don't like.
Yeah.
But you know what? As you said, right now him and Machado, I really don't know where they're going.
I mean, we're hearing pitchers and catchers reporting like 2 weeks.
yeah. I mean,
and they're still sitting there without a job. That's amazing to me.
we're getting down to the wire for them. One more for baseball. MLB and Nike have announced a 10-year uniform and merchandise contract. Love it or hate it?
Love it.
Love it.
I say love it too. You know what? Nike's taking over the sports world. Yeah. They now supply uniforms for the NFL, NBA, and now MLB.
Yeah.
What's left?
That money's going to be keep the game prosperous.
I hope so. Spread it around. A 10-year-old wins a science fair with a project on whether or not Tom Brady's a cheater.
I love it. I love it.
I love it, but my question is, what was his conclusion?
That he is.
Oh, yeah, I double love it.
And I love it too, and I love the fact that he won with it.
That's
and
awesome.
the board, similar to that one over there to be used to adjust the camera. And I mean, he did research.
Who was the judge? Rex Ryan?
I don't know. He looked up stuff, looked into Deflategate and all that.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And that was his hypothesis: is he a cheater? And his conclusion was yes.
Awesome. Love it. Evil Empire getting their just due.
Speaking of the Ryan brothers, that's interesting. The Redskins have hired Rob Ryan as their new inside linebackers coach. Love it or hate it?
I love it. I hope he's just as successful with Washington's defense as he was with Dallas's.
Yep.
Love it.
You just answered mine because I hate it. This seems like what the Redskins do. This seems like a name hire to me. And I know, they're defensive guys, but he doesn't really ever seem to have much success no matter where he goes.
All talk. He's had one top 10 defense his whole career.
When he was with the Ravens.
I don't remember who he was with. It wasn't with the Cowboys. I can assure you of that.
Oh, no.
Maybe that's why he's going to be the inside linebackers coach instead of the linebackers coach or the D coordinator.
Well, maybe there he'll do a decent job because I think the knock on him was his schemes were so complex that players couldn't keep up where they're supposed to be. Yeah. And how bad can you screw up that?
Yeah. So maybe you just give him 5 or 6
a
guys.
A concentrated area. And
that's your guys. Yeah.
So maybe he'll be better. I don't dislike him. He's a great character.
Oh, yeah.
Got some wild hair.
Yeah, he does. It's true. I wish I could grow my hair like that.
Yeah. I wish I could grow my hair like that. And then finally, you mentioned Sean Payton here. So the Saints' Sean Payton has appeared to be wearing a Roger Goodell clown T-shirt. This river seems to be running deep.
I love that. I did not know that.
I love it too. I'm wondering if you can get fined for that though.
That's what I'm worrying about.
Peyton can afford it.
Oh, I know he can afford it. And I mean, he's been part of Bountygate and all that stuff.
That's right.
But I'm pretty sure Roger Goodell could find him if he wanted to.
Yeah, he's not. And Roger Goodell does not have the thickest skin in the world. So
No, he
if he
doesn't.
can find him, I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, Goodell's his boss, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I don't know. We'll have to see. But I love it, and I know that the Saints are upset about that call, and I get it. And there was talk about should they replay it and all that. You don't want to open
That's
that
right.
box.
That's right.
No.
That's right.
Not at all. So.
Yep.
Again, Super Bowl is going to be this Sunday. I think kickoff rather. Wrong sport is around 6:37, something like that. They always
6:30.
start with some weird
Yeah.
number. So again, Rams, Patriots. You got the Rams. We both got the Patriots. We'll have to come back next week and see who is correct. So that's going to do it for this edition of The Rundown. Of course, once again, we appreciate everybody tuning in over the last 365 days. We hope to see you this time next year, 365 days from now. I'm Matt Harrelson, Brand Fall, Jeremy McKenzie. We'll see you right back here next week.